Today's episode is for race drivers who know they must improve their results. They know they can improve their results, but their mind is holding them back. Race drivers, this is Enzo with the Race Driver Coach Show with a bit of advice that I know can help you move forward. Now, this last weekend, I was off doing nothing. So what do you think a racing coach does when he has a weekend off? He goes on iRacing. He misses racing that much that he goes on iRacing to do some online racing himself. And I had 3 or 4 drivers out as well, so I had to watch them on TSL and live timing and live streaming. So I was loving it being at home in the portal, watching everybody compete and competing myself. But when I was on iRacing, which is something I want to really get deep into now, because iRacing is a mental tool for me that I use for drivers when I'm training them. And I did it for myself. I went on there. I completely DNF'd the first few times, first 3 races, I think. So I killed my I rating. I lost my A license, went down to B. It was all over the place because I was just jumping into a race without testing. Really bad move, by the way. So I did that. But once I got into the groove, I started to notice something. I started to notice that even though I teach mental skills, mental training, how to perform at your best, I was still falling for the same traps that most drivers do. I went into a race, a bit underprepared, which a lot of drivers do, obviously. And then I started to push my driving. I started to chase a lap time because I know that the race is coming up in 5 minutes. I've got to be quick. Let's go. And when you do that, when you start to chase a lap time and start to push the entries of corners and all this, your driving is a mess. You start to have accidents. You start to make mistakes. You have spins and you're all over the place. But I noticed that people do this in the real world. So there's some lessons here from iRacing that I want to teach you now to help you mentally improve yourself so you get better results. That's what today's all about. So just to give you an example, look at this first race. These are the results from the first race. And as you can see, I'm between 2 and 7/10 quicker than the guys in front of me. Yet I finished 4th. So I'm the fastest guy on track by far, yet I finished 4th. What does that say? That just tells you that that person who is fast but not finishing at the front is not mentally in control. They know how to drive. They've got the knowledge. They have the skill, shall we say, or the know-how of how to drive the car, yet mentally they're screwing up. They're letting themselves down. They're making mistakes. They're going too hard. So they end up 4th. And that is a pure example of what this video is all about. So what I did is I did some of the mental exercises that I do with drivers and what I teach. And then I went out 15 minutes later. Then all of a sudden, I qualified amazingly quick on pole position. And as you can see by this slide now that I'm showing on TV, on the video, sorry, I'm 8/10 quicker than the nearest guy, but I'll win this time. So not only was I faster, I kept pulling away, and I actually executed. So mentally, I was more in control. I had a certain potential and delivered on it. When a lot of the times people have the potential, but they fall short. They hit limitations. Mentally, they start to focus on the things that are not right. They start to over push. They start to worry about their self-identity, what people think, and all this in one big bag. All of a sudden, they're not driving like they should. That's what today's show is all about. You being at your best. So when it comes to your personal performance, I mean, I've got many strategies and systems in place that teach people how to be at their best, right? But when it comes to this situation, I want to put things into 3 boxes for today. First, there's your knowledge. That's you knowing how to do a lap time, how this particular car needs to be driven around the track and how this track needs to be driven. So you've got the knowledge of how to get a lap time on each corner or to get through each corner at its best. Then there's your skill set, which means how good you are at actually doing it. physically. So you're in the car, you know this car needs weight on the way in. So you're going to brake all the way into the apex because you want to keep the weight on the front nose. How good are you actually doing that? How good are you actually driving high speed? All the technicalities of your actual skill, which is often overlooked by drivers. They think they just want to aim for the top and have this kind of motivation to go and get it and this confidence, but they haven't actually got the skill to do it in the first place. Really important to have the skill. Then thirdly is your mindset. So you have the knowledge, you have the skill, but now you need to be able to perform on demand to actually do it, to be in the right mental state, the right emotions, the right focus to pull it off. That's the next challenge. So when I did this, and just to give you an example, I used the Porsche, the GT3 Porsche. Now I did this because it's a difficult car and it's easy for you to overdrive it. And it's easy for you to overdrive it because it's a bloody 1,200 kilogram car with 500 brake horsepower. So if you start to push too hard, the entries and things like this, you're not going to go anywhere. It's going to bite you. I mean, this thing is an animal. It's so good as a race car, but if you start to, you're not there mentally, then it will eat you alive. I mean, just look at her go. She's beautiful. So to give you an example of the boxes of knowledge, driving skill, and the mindset, the mental skills to actually pull it off on demand. Now, I had the knowledge. I knew that this car needed to be prepared well for each corner. So you need to slow it down and make sure you get a good exit in particular corners, which I'm going to show you. So turn 2 at Snetterton. If anybody knows Snetterton, you'll know what I'm on about. It's a hairpin. So going into this, I knew how to take this corner quickly. I had the driving skill to brake the right pressure at the right time, have the right brake shape, take the brake into the actual apex, like I said earlier, and then get the throttle down, because even though it's not a long exit, it's still important. So I had the knowledge, but the mental skills were not there. But when I was doing it correctly, this is what it looked like. So I'd come to the corner, brake good in time, brake correctly, get it into that apex, and a beautiful throttle, and it took me through. This was the second race that I did well. But going back to the first race, you can see I'm overcharging the entry. I'm missing the apex. So now I'm doing more distance, and that makes me late to the throttle because I've got so much lock on. This is a prime example of the same driver knowing what to do, how to do it, and actually being able to execute it. But then the mindset was pushing for a lap time. And as soon as you start pushing the entries and losing the exits, it's game over. You're forgetting what this car needs. You're forgetting what this track needs. And because you've got the lap time in mind and all the other baggage and personal beliefs and hang-ups that you've got as an individual, they force you to drive in a way that you know is not intelligent. Everyone is susceptible to this. Whether you're an 8-time world champion or a beginner, we all are susceptible to this. So we have to remain in control. We have to take on the fact that you have to take responsibility for your mindset. The knowledge and the know-how and the skills completely take a back seat as soon as you lose yourself mentally. That's what this video is about. And to give you another example, the last corner at Snetterton. Now it's a long right, Corum corner. You're going long right forever and ever and ever. And it's got a really weird curved entry for the last corner, which has got an amazingly important exit. Now, if you try and make up all your time through that long right, but then lose the exit, again, you're going to be slow. So this is a certain thing that you do when you're chasing time. You think so narrow-minded, so nanosecond, this is it, I'm going to push, 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 push. You don't think of what's happening around the corner on the exit. So you can go around, and example again, this is a shot of me trying to, well, basically I'll start first time of doing it correct. I control the entry, and I make sure that I get the apex and I get a really good throttle point. So that's going to serve me all the way up the straight. I'm going to have free time all the way up the straight. Then the flip side of that, on the first race when I didn't perform very well because I was chasing a lap time, I started to push the entry way too much. And what that meant was, yeah, okay, I was winning on the way in. I was quick. But then because I braked too late, because I was trying to be too quick, I'd miss the apex and then I'd be slow down the whole straight. So congratulations, you've won on the entry, but then you lose for the next half a mile down the straight. And if you're watching this on YouTube, here is a snapshot of what that looks like. The white line is overcharging the entry, trying to make up the time, and then losing it all on the exit, where the purple, I think it is braking earlier, planning, and getting the throttle down. Now, that's two different drivers, you would say, right? Two different driving styles, but really it's just the mindset that's different, the intention. Coming to the corner, I'm going to try and brake as late as I can, not thinking about the exit. Dude, you're forgetting the knowledge. You have the skill, but you're forgetting how to get the most out of this corner. Wake up. But we all do it, especially if we're starting on pole position. Now, the second race, I executed in qualifying and I got pole position. Then I did a visualization exercise. This is where we're getting into the training of this video. I got into a visualization exercise, and to give you it very simply, I sat in the pit lane before the race. I visualized the start of the race. I visualized doing the first laps perfectly. Actually, it's just one lap. The start and then the lap itself, the very first lap, I visualized driving it perfectly. And as you can see here, as a replay, if you're watching again on YouTube, I'm even turning the wheel. My eyes are closed. I'm turning the wheel to where each corner is going. Turn one, I'm turning right. Then I'm going right in again into the hairpin. And I'm doing all this to mentally prep the brain for what's coming. Now, if you mentally prep the brain for what's coming, you're showing it what it's just about to embark. And when you do that, it can it's like it's doing it for the second time. So mental rehearsal is literally that. You are visualizing the lap, and if you can add some physical element to it, like turning the wheel. So when you're on the actual grid, when you're sat on the grid, don't be afraid if you've got like the 10-minute countdown to close your eyes, picture the lap, turn the wheel, even though the wheel, you've got the slicks on the ground and the wheel doesn't turn very much, just pretend and force the wheel to turn a little bit as you sat there and visualize the lap, because this is what's coming and you've got to tell the brain. Instead of letting the brain think about things and get lost in distraction and worry and fear of losing, who's behind, I can't believe I'm this high up, or I can't believe I'm this far back, and it's getting into a mental mess, you just tell the brain what's coming and what to focus on.